Hi, you guys. Hi, hello, welcome back. All the good stuff. My name is Carrie Penny. I am the Happy Crafty Homemaker, and welcome to Show and Tell number 150. Now, if you have clicked on my channel and realized like this is out of order, as the title suggests, yes, I know this is out of order. So I am rushing to film this today, the day this is hopefully going to go up, Thursday, because I want to talk to you guys about something very special that's hilarious and funny, and learn from me. Learn from me. But we'll get to that in just a second. This week's been perfectly normal, perfectly fine. I already had number 149 filmed, ready to go and everything else. But like I said, we're cutting in out of order. So it's been a normal week. We've had some injuries and stuff, so it's kind of slowed some stuff down around the house. But other than that, so what is in my wonderful basket to share and show with you guys today? Oh, by the way, Saturday we will have my little mini review of Premier Momenta yarn coming out. I did not get it up last weekend, but I didn't figure you guys would mind waiting a week. So I'm going to be honest. It's blocks, more blocks, and blocks. Blocks. So the video that goes up next week, which is 149, also has blocks. There's some other stuff in there, but blocks. And next week's video should be the end of the scraps that already exist that we're going into corner to corner squares. Because the thing I really am breaking into the order count here of videos to share with you guys has me in the point where all I want to do is work on blocks. Well, that was real attractive, wasn't it? That's what I get for being a smart aleck while filming. Anyway. So, we have blocks, 5 blocks, blocks, 10 blocks, blocks, 15. Do I even need to keep saying it? 20. 25. 27. 10 row granny squares. Or corner to corner squares. Normally I work on these like in the car, in the bed, things like that. If this isn't an indication of how my crafty week went. I got 27 corner to corner squares done. And that might not sound like a lot, but between playing nursemaid to my husband, who boo-booed himself, and running around like a mad woman trying to get certain things done in a timely fashion. Now I'm fighting with the alarm company because we're having issues where the panel is making non-stop beeping noises in the bedroom. Yeah. So, let me move my basket to the side here and tell you guys what happened. So back at the beginning of the year, I started a sweater, and I shared with you guys the front panel, and I told you I was worried it was going to be a little big, but I figured once I blocked it down lengthwise, that was going to narrow it in a little bit. Well, you see what had happened is it kept growing. And I kept trying to go with it until I was like 3/4 of the way done with the first sleeve and realized there's just no fixing this. There is no way this sweater's going to fit me. Now, I would like to say, in all fairness, this is supposed to be an oversized sweater. But I'm 5'5". Now, while I may not be the leanest of little ladies, I am smaller than my husband, and this is oversized on him, as evidenced by the pictures. I may not be a dainty flower, but I'm not that big. Yeah, so this is the skull sweater. I still love the pattern. I am doing the large. Now, most standard sizing things in the US, I am in an XL, and I am right there in between a 2XL and an XL. I have large arms, broad shoulders, stacked, but I'm short. And my ratio from armpit to shoulder is actually a large, but I got some fat girl arms. So I knew there were going to be some alterations that needed to be made. And I knew after I started this in an XL and was like, yeah, this is too big. I probably ought to block my swatch and see where I'm sitting with this. So I blocked this. This is using Brava Sport from Knit Picks. Wonderful, wonderful yarn. No problem with that whatsoever. But I don't do a lot of filet crochet. Blankets, doilies, things. I just don't do a whole lot of filet crochet. And what I did not take into account with this, even with blocking, and I did a gentle block. I did not want to like warp my stitches. And I came out to where an XL should be an oversized fit for me. We're looking at like 14 to 16 inches of ease here. I mean, that's about 3 inches of ease. So that's 6 on each side. So that's at least 12 inches of ease at the bust line. And that's huge. So I had already, this is the large, and we're at 12 inches of ease. I considered after putting this together, I did not weave in any ends throughout this whole project because I knew there was a chance this was going to happen. When I did that first panel in the XL, I started at the bottom, realized we were just way too big. There was just no way. I mean, I've got giant hips too. When I say hourglass figure, I mean, I'm almost like, I'm like 2 watermelons stacked on top of each other. It was, we were looking at like almost 20 inches of ease with this blocked an XL. I dropped down to the large because when I blocked it, soft blocking, it said the large was where I needed to be. Now I'm going to be honest, this is not the right size yarn for this pattern. I did take that into account. I've dropped a hook size and everything. We are still at least 12 inches of ease, and that is way too much. Not to mention, even bringing my armhole up, I slid where the armhole starts up. I'm still looking at a ginormous armhole here. And as you saw my husband, once again, keep in mind, that man's a foot taller than I am. And the body of this looked like a dress on him. This is after 5 decreases. So what I didn't really take into account with this was, it's really weird because it is like, it's supposed to be that droopy, like 80s off the shoulder. I'm cool. That is not the vibe this is giving on me. Even without block, like I know blocking would help, like even out seams and stuff. Unblocked distance. That would be the block distance now. Yeah. The fillet has just grown exponentially in both directions as I put this together. When I did the back panel, it was like the front panel where it's like, it's going to be a little larger than I would have wanted, but I think it's still going to fit. I mean, you can see how big that's with the raised armpit. That's with the armpit having been raised already for the size I did. That's measured for the small armhole. So once I put the front panel and the back panel together and started manipulating this as a whole garment and rotating the sleeve or the body around a lot, trying to do the sleeve, 12 rows that ended up being? It wasn't even that many rows. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12, 13 rows. I did 13 rows on the sleeve. And even the seam is growing. I thought the seam would kind of stabilize. I got some dust in my throat. Sorry about that. That was literally a piece of dust hitting my tonsil, not even my uvula. Anyway, as I was manipulating this, my side seam even began to grow. And I've never really had this problem with acrylic before, but I don't normally do filet crochet. And the only thing I can think is this is the filet. Acrylic is stretchy. Now, acrylic will stretch some with weight, but this started a little bit more towards like it was going to be mid-thigh-ish, tunic mid-thigh. We're now knee length on me. So we've grown, yeah, that's a good 6 inches in length. And we're not tightening up in the bust at all. So the one thing I was just convinced during the course of my own Spook Your Spring Make-Along that I was going to be able to get done needs to be frogged. And that's 400 grams of yarn. No, I'm on my fifth ball. 2 for the front, 2 for the back, 1 for the sleeve. Yeah, so I'm so she shall be frogged. As the sleeve is even brought up for the small already, I think maybe the body needs to be a small. Which, I mean, it's like a medium for any other pattern. I'm not a medium. It is supposed to be a gracious oversized fit, but we're like gigantic zone right now. I mean, like 4 inches of ease is not an unattractive shape on me, especially when we're talking about it's just a sack shape. It's a straight shape. And because of the skull design, it's not something like you can cinch in with a belt or something. It's going to be a sack shape. That's normally not an unattractive shape on my body with like 4 inches of ease, positive ease. A foot of positive ease, on the other hand, I mean, we're like well past moo-moo. Like, I wouldn't even wear this around the house. It's so oversized. I can't even taper the sleeve fast enough to, if I brought it, originally I'd mentioned, you know, making it a 3/4 length sleeve, which would already be tapering it and tightening it a little bit quicker anyway. But right now, especially, I mean, there's supposed to be like 6 decreases down the sleeve length. Now, I have short arms as I'm a short person, but I'm broad and short, aka squat. I'm squat. But even doing 7 decreases down the arm would not bring in the sleeve enough. I mean, I would still have like 3 inches away from my wrist. So there's no salvaging this. There's no making this work. The only thing I will be able to salvage, thankfully, is the back loop single crochet bands at the bottom, because this worked from the bottom up. So I will be able to salvage this. I'll just frog back the number of rows that I don't need on the bottom bands, which were the longest part of doing this. It took me as long to do the bottom of each panel as it took me to do the fillet portion of the panels. And once you got rolling on that back panel, you know, it's just block stitch, so it's not hard, and the skull design wasn't very hard to do. But I am disappointed. Take my advice on this one. If you're going to do a filet sweater, And just a standard, bog standard filet sweater. And I love the neckline on this. I love the way that's trued up and stabilized with the stitching. Very nice design on that. The sleeves are stabilized the same way, I believe. So it as loose as this is going to fit and as stretchy as it is, the neckline and the sleeves will retain their shape better. I probably would not do this in cotton, knowing how much cotton stretches. This is a springy acrylic, but it's not particularly stretchy unless you steam it. So really, really, really pay attention to your gauge. This is what I had been dedicated to working on the last week until I hit this snag, which is why I ended up with 27 corner to corner blocks this week. So yeah, that's what I've been working on. That's what happened this week, y'all. Okay. Just be conscientious when you're doing something like this. It is written for DK, not sport, but even still, coming down a hook size, going down an entire size in the pattern, and having blocked this. I blocked a swatch. I did a gauge swatch, and I blocked it. And still coming off this far off, I am a little testy about that now. I don't crochet a lot of sweaters. I've knit a couple of sweaters over the years. I have crocheted sweaters. I've never found the gauge swatch stuff for crochet sweaters to be as good as knit sweaters. I don't know why, but this is an example of the stitch really does matter. And I kind of feel like in the end, whoever published this tweaked this for something that was standard and not for the pattern, which does happen when you are not independently publishing patterns. Sometimes they will, the editors will make tweaks to patterns that they, well, the ball band says work this with X, not with Y. Whereas the designer, was trying to get a certain fabric. If it's something is not published by a publishing house that normally does knitting and crochet patterns, that does happen a lot. And I've heard designers complaining about that in the past. So I don't know if this is one of those, something got tweaked because it was being published originally by somebody who doesn't normally do these things. I don't know if this is 100% user error. The designer could also be a very particularly tight crocheter, whereas I'm not a loose gauge crocheter. I'm normally pretty dead on to gauge using the recommended hook size. So, I came to gauge with my gauge swatch, but my swatch obviously did not indicate the stretch of the weight of the sweater. And it did substantially stretch once that sweater was put together. It just bloomed on its own. It's like I said, even originally when I tried it on, the side seam kind of rippled a little bit. And in the 2 days after I did the side seam, just the weight of the sweater as I was manipulating it pulled that entire seam straight. So based on my experience doing the large and getting this far along in the large, I think I'm going to redo this in the small. Just skip doing medium altogether. I know I can't trust the gauge swatch. I might try going down another hook size and see if that makes it a big enough difference. I just don't think that's going to be... I think that's part of the reason why it grew so much more is the stitch was so tight coming off the hook. It's like when you slouch and then you pull yourself upright, staying with good posture for a minute. I think that's kind of what happened all of a sudden is the weight of the sweater pulled on all those stitches. It wasn't even that they were getting pulled unnaturally from the weight, but they were just getting tightened up. So yeah, I told you guys transparency is important to me. Not everything that comes out of these craft room things are perfect. There are problems. There are user errors. There's bad patterns. There are things that just don't work out well. And I wanted to break in here, because my make-along ends on Tuesday. It ends at the end of the month. So I did want to share, like, the big thing I have been working on that was spooky. I legitimately made a lot of progress on and would have had done. I would have had it done 3 days ago if we hadn't run into this problem. But I did want to break in with that. Give you guys a heads up. Just the waffle. Especially if you're going to be playing with the yarn tight and the yarn weight. And like I said, a lot of this, I think, it's the fillet. The fillet is just way more stretchy than I thought it was going to be. So that happened. Other than that, I hope you guys are having a wonderful, fantastic week. I will go ahead and put in 149's cat pictures for you. And then that way, next week, you'll get the more up-to-date cat pictures. But Banner's weight is up to 9 pounds. I weighed him yesterday. So he is about right at 9 pounds. We are very excited about the progress of his weight. Pippin is still Pippin. He's just being Pippin. But I hope you guys are having a wonderful, fantastic week. I love you guys. And I will see you again now on this Saturday instead of... Take care, you guys. Bye, guys.